Walk with me for a few minutes. So, real question for you all this morning. Have you ever found yourself holding on to a grudge against someone? You know what I mean by a grudge, like someone did something to you that maybe really hurt you, maybe caused some angst, some pain, some frustration, and it caused feelings toward that person that were kind of negative, right? Call it a grudge, maybe anger, depending on who the person is, what they did, and I guess most important, your kind of visceral reaction, the meaning you tied to it, the emotions it stirred. Sometimes, for some people, it can even turn into a feeling of resentment, and I guess to an extreme, even like a desire for a revenge, right? Gotta get even, gotta show them, gotta prove a point. Call it whatever you will. I think all of us know what I'm talking about. How many of you have ever been in that state where you were holding on, just call it negative energy, toward another person for whatever reason? Or maybe we all have people around us that do this even more frequently or even more to an extreme. I know I see people in my life that have a hard time kind of letting go and sometimes let emotions stir into just so much anger, so much hate, so much desire for a revenge, if you want to call it. And I want to talk about not that feeling, but the solution that we all have to come to when we're going through that state. And that solution is forgiveness. And I want to talk about forgiveness this morning with all of you. A word we're all familiar with, a word we've for sure heard before, something we know we can do and should do, but I'm also willing to bet for many of us, maybe many people around us, it's something that's also maybe sometimes difficult or something we struggle with. And I think now more than ever, with so much change happening, so much transformation happening, so many just bottled up feelings, emotions, given the current environment we face this year, I think there's a greater need right now to elevate the awareness, to build the muscle of forgiveness in our lives and our families' lives and our communities in the world right now. And I want to share some thoughts on why, and more specifically, how we can be more mindful when it comes to letting go. I guess before we get into the conversation, sorry for the short breath. I'm on the hill right now. It's a steep one out here. Home stretch outside Pacific Palisades, where I live near Santa Monica, Malibu. It's where I'm walking this morning. Where are you walking this morning? Who's out there? Who's with me? Who's by my side? Don't be shy. Say hello. Hi. How we doing? How we feeling? Tell me something about you and your life right now. What's something you're excited about that's happening in your life right now? What's something you're grateful for that's happening in your life right now? Tell me something. I read all the comments. I love those of you that have been walking with us consistently. If you're new to the tribe, new to the crew, new to the squad, say hello, introduce yourself, let us know where you're from, and join the conversation. This is a collaboration. It's about participation. Please share your thoughts, feedback, value in the comments below for all of us together to review. And we get together pretty consistently on Monday mornings around this time. So if you're always looking for a little Monday motivation, plug in. And we talk about any kind of inspired thoughts that just come to my mind and my heart while I'm on my morning workout, kind of off the cuff. And like I said this morning, I want to talk about this concept of, and really this need today of forgiveness. 3 thoughts. first thought, I believe that forgiveness is more about the benefit to us than it is about them. And them being whoever the person or persons are that maybe you're harboring some sort of negative energy or negative feeling to. And I start by saying that because so often if we ask ourselves, like, man, I'm so frustrated with this person. Man, I'm so disappointed. Man, why did they do this? Man, they made me feel this way. Man, they hurt me. How could I ever forgive that person for what they did? So often our reaction of why we haven't let go is focused on them and what they said or what they did. And so often we're afraid to let go because we feel like that they don't deserve, right, for us to forgive for how they made us feel. Does this sound familiar? Is this hitting home if I were to be direct and honest? How many of you guys have been in a situation where you felt like someone did something wrong and maybe they did, and you had a hard time letting go because you felt letting go was letting them off the hook or somehow making what they said or did right if you didn't harbor this negative energy or make a point for them to know or hang on to that feeling you felt in some way connected to you letting go was letting them off the hook or making what they did, less wrong or inaccurate or right. But guys, if we really stop and think about that, does us hanging on to a negative energy, a negative emotion, maybe escalating into anger, frustration, its most extreme into a hate or a revenge, does that really change anything when it comes to the life of the person that you're hanging that energy to? And I know you know what I'm going to say next here because it is the reality. When it comes to that energy, who is it really hurting more? Them or you, who maybe constantly stew on that, constantly infect your focus with a negative energy, a negative perspective, constantly maybe stew or ruminate on, how they hurt you and why they did that and how it shouldn't have happened. You guys see, I think when it comes to understanding forgiveness, we have to first lean into the idea that letting go and forgiving somebody is more a benefit to us than it is to them. Us letting go in no way makes what maybe someone said or did less. It doesn't change maybe the feeling that you had or that it created. But what letting go and forgiving does is it lets go of the weight or the energy for it to constantly affect us or continue to affect us beyond that point. You guys, that's a decision we all can make. Matter of fact, there's actually been a lot of studies in the kind of positive psychology realm that says those that forgive quickly and those that forgive fully actually end up being happier individuals. Matter of fact, beyond just a happiness factor or a fulfillment factor, there's actually physical differences. Less stress on the body, less cortisol, right? So there are both mental and emotional as well as physical benefits to learning to forgive, learning to let go, learning to move on. And I think the first thing that we all have to realize is hanging on to a negative energy tied to somebody, even if you really firmly believe it's justified, hurts you more than it hurts them. It prevents you from achieving maybe a greater level of happiness or a greater fulfillment or a greater physical or emotional or mental health. So first thing you got to realize is forgiving isn't about letting somebody off the hook. It's about letting yourself off the hook for continuing to attach pain or negative energy in that direction. Second thought I have when it comes to forgiveness kind of steps into more the how. So if the why is because it benefits us, the how would be the question, right? Easier said than done. And I think one of the first things we have to realize if we're going to get good at building this mental muscle at letting go is we have to learn to step into other people's shoes. Now, I know we've all been taught this, right? Growing up, kind of the basics, walk in somebody else's shoes, look at it from their perspective, right? Try to see it through their eyes. Because all that is absolutely true. And I think one thing, if we want to learn to let go, is we all have to learn to step into another person's perspective, which in one word is all about empathy, right? It's all about learning to understand where someone is coming from. And as we learn to do that, look a layer deeper and realize that a lot of times people's actions, things they say, things they do, is less about us. It's less about you, and it's more about them. You guys, so often what people say is more a reflection of who they are and how they feel and how they see the world than it is a reflection of you. What people do and the actions they take is, again, more a reflection of who they are, their belief system, their perspective, than it is about you. Now, it's horrible because for whatever reason, we've all been conditioned these days to, be so sensitive, maybe, lack our own confidence, that sometimes other people's actions and words we take too personally. Like a huge rule of growth is learn, right? That don't take things personally. And so often what happens from others is less about us and more about them. And the more we start to realize that, the more we can step in and realize, wow, maybe it's their own pain, what they are going through, what they have been through, what others have done to them, and maybe the anger they're harboring or holding on to is what is causing that person to say or do the things that they're saying or doing. And again, guys, understanding it doesn't justify it. Understanding it doesn't minimize it. Understanding it, right, doesn't say that it's okay. It's not giving it an approval or a blessing. Understanding it, though, helps us realize that it's not a personal attack on us. It's not even about us. In most cases, it's more about them than it is about us. And that type of empathy allows you to maybe step into their pain, what they're going through, to at least understand it. And that's all we're trying to do when it comes to forgiving. Not say it's okay, not approve of it, but at least understand it and detach it, right, from it being personal. So I think we have to realize, first and foremost, forgiveness is more about the benefit to us than it is about them. So we understand why we got to move forward. I think kind of secondarily, we got to realize that we can look into their perspective and their vantage point. And the last thought I'll give on forgiveness is this. Let's all be honest with ourselves and realize that none of us is perfect. None of us is perfect. I'm sure there's a lot of situations or circumstances where maybe, you didn't do anything that was really to blame. Maybe, someone was in a bad place at a bad time and lashed out to you or did something to you that you really didn't provoke or didn't deserve. But let's be honest, there's also plenty of other times where it takes two parties to create maybe a confrontation or a difference of opinion. You guys, none of us is perfect, right? And that is okay. And we got to realize that we are all guilty, if you want to use that word, of sometimes saying things we shouldn't say or doing things we shouldn't, do, or believing things, that we shouldn't believe, or, that weren't even true. We're all in that place. Nobody is perfect, and that is okay. But understanding our own imperfection, and that sometimes, yes, we too mess up as individuals, allows us to be a lot more understanding when it comes to other individuals and a lot less judgmental when it comes to how we look at the actions of others. You see, so often, guys, those that judge the most are often the ones that have the most to be judged. And often the ones that are so afraid of being judged are so afraid of being judged because they're the ones that judge the most. So the more we understand that we're not perfect, we all make mistakes, right? We all find ourselves in those scenarios, the more we're willing to also be empathetic when others find themselves in the same place, because we all have been there. So guys, those are some thoughts on forgiveness. Why is that on my mind here this morning? Just because you watch so much of what's going on today, and so many people are just harboring negative energy, and a lot of times for such little things. A Facebook post sets you off, right? An Instagram image sets you off. A news clip sets you off. A weak moment in someone's lives right now, where there's a lot of weak moments with the situations people are being put through, right? Sets you off. And what I don't want is to see any of us, or really anybody in this world, start to harbor these feelings that not only make less relationships and more negative energy, but also make a less positive environment for you, right? The people around you, because you're unwilling or unable to let go. I think right now, more than ever, we all have to forgive. Now, that doesn't mean forget, right? Forgiving, guys, again, it's about realizing that you need to let yourself free so you can move forward. It's about realizing that other people may have done that for certain reasons that they're going through, not about you, and understanding their pain. And it's also about realizing that you're not perfect, right? But it doesn't mean that we are saying actions are right or actions are correct, because let's be honest, there's a lot of actions that aren't. It's just saying we're no longer going to tie negative energy to it or let those actions continue to have control over us moving forward. But that also doesn't mean, guys, that you got to keep people in your life, right? You have to make a values judgment when it comes to certain individuals, that if, actions are taken that cross a boundary, cross a value system, cross a line, that negatively affect you, that are toxic to you or those that you love, you got to make decisions on who your environment is and who you let in, right? And forgiving doesn't mean you have to continue to allow people in your life to do that again. It really doesn't. It just means letting go, right? Forgiving doesn't mean that you agree with the actions. It just means letting go and moving on. And that's what we got to focus on right now. So let go, let go, let go. Question for all of you right now. Who is someone in your life that you are clinging on to a negative energy for whatever reason? And I don't care what the reason is. I don't care how bad it was or how deep it hurt. It's hurting you today more than it's hurting them by hanging on to it. So right now, kind of mentally, as you're listening to this, who is someone in your life right now you need to just forgive for what they did? You need to move on. You need to stop carrying that weight. And I urge you guys to do that today, right? To do that today and just let go. I was listening to a new book this morning by my friend, my brother, Jay Shetty, one of the best. Look him up if you guys haven't looked up into Jay. And he has his first book out. It's called Think Like a Monk. I recommend picking it up. He just launched it. And he has a section in there where he talks about forgiveness, and he gives a real practical step I'd never heard before. It's a simple one. I'll pass it on to you. You can give it a try. It can be a tool for your arsenal to help. But if you're having a hard time letting go for someone, he said, maybe try writing a letter. Write a letter to that individual and just list all of the things that you need to forgive them for. And it can just be simple lines. It says, I forgive you for, and then fill in the blank. I forgive you for, fill in the blank. I forgive you for, filling in the blank. Now, don't worry, you're not going to send this letter. You're not going to give the letter. You're not going to mail the letter. The letter is for you, but it might help you crystallize all of the things that you're harboring or hanging on to. Write them all out so they become clear, so that way you can go through the exercise we talked about today of letting go of all of that, throwing that away and moving on for you more than them. So, tool that I recently got turned on to, might give it a try. Other than that, guys, hey, there's so much to be excited about in the world today. There's so much happening. There's so much transformation. There's so much rejuvenation. There's so much innovation. There's so much, guys, shift happening. With shift comes opportunity. And we don't need to be carrying the weight of the past. Doesn't matter who they are or what they did. Let yourself go, right? Let it go so you can move on and be the best that you can be, who you're meant to be, and have a positive energy, right, as you move forward to you, your life, your focus, your projects, and those around you. So if you guys got value from today, let me know below. Would love some feedback. Hey, if you have other things you found personally effective in forgiving, right, in moving on and letting go, hey, chime in below. I'll read every comment. I know many of those that are walking with us this morning will also read and appreciate the value. And until next time, guys, hey, Monday Motivation. We get together live and would love to continue Inspired Thoughts. And for more inspired thoughts, you guys can check out the podcast, Alive by Design, on all podcast platforms. There's a lot of walk with me's and conversations just to help us move toward who we're meant to be and help us feel more alive in the now and in today. So check it out if you guys want more in between our Monday walks. So with that, have a great day. Until next time we walk together, stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy. And hey, let's let go and forgive a little more this week. Have a great day, everybody.